So I'm here to give you some things that are in the Vibrant Coaching Toolbox. So is anybody on here a coach other than Nancy? Anybody else on here a coach? Okay, Jeremy is. Yes, Jesse's shaking her head. Yes. Okay. All right. So I might be preaching to the choir a little bit here. But I'm a big believer in the fundamentals. I'm a big believer in, getting your free throw shots in and your dribbling time in. And so it's always good to just go back and say, okay, what is coaching? And so this is the definition that Vibrant Coaching works by, is it's partnering with an individual in a thought-provoking and creative process. So I absolutely love that. And I want you to think about the idea that coaching is a thought-provoking creative process. What should come out of a coaching session is something neither the coach nor the coachee knew existed before the session started. And I just want you to think about how powerful it is. Now, there's a lot of people out there in the coaching world that are coaching, but it looks more like consulting. I am a consultant too. And here's the difference between coaching and consulting, is that coaching is this element of, we're going to sit and discover. And then consulting is, I've been down that path. Let me tell you how to do it. So coaching is thought-provoking, but I want you to get your head wrapped around for both people, the coach and the coachee. And it helps the person that's being coached to maximize their personal and professional life. During my coaching journey since 2007, I have been given a lot of people who are getting coaching because it's punitive. Talking about workplace trends, that one's out there. They're like, can you do something with this guy, William, that's on my team? He's a problem, and I'm like, yes, because here's the truth. Whether the person is truly a high potential or somebody who's getting spanked with coaching, my job still remains the same, to have this thought-provoking, creative process that inspires this person to maximize. So I have to just look at everybody that I coach, and you have to look at everybody you coach as somebody who can change. If you're in coaching and you're like, oh, he'll never change, then you're in the wrong place, okay? Because you have to believe they can change. And you're supposed to pull out your toolbox to help them do that. So I was given William to be my coachee. And really interesting, he was a top sales guy. Hit the numbers, amazing. He comes back to the home office and he's a complete jerk. Okay? The VP of sales is new, and he says to me, I don't know what's up with this guy. I don't know what his problem is. He's got great numbers. He said, some people walk in the room, Nicole, and they bring lightness and joy and happiness, and people are glad to see them. I'm like, I know, that's a vibrant person. And then he said, there are people that come in the room and it's like this. Can y'all read that?
All right.
Okay. And see, that was William. And so, the number one coaching question, so you might want to write this down. This is the number one coaching question, in Nicole Greer's humble opinion, to ask somebody at the beginning of a coaching engagement is this question: what is it like to experience you? What is it like to experience you?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of coaches sit down and they want to get into the stuff that's going on, but really what we want to coach people around is, what is it like to experience you? Now, when I asked William this question, he goes, I don't care. See, he's a total jerk. So I said, well, William, what do you call a guy who doesn't care what anybody else thinks? So finally he goes, I don't know, arrogant. And I'm like, so what's it like to work with arrogant people? See, I'm not getting into a dialogue with this guy. I'm just asking a question after question after question. He's going to get, as they say in coaching school, to his own answer eventually. And that's what we try to do. Right. Yeah. Unemployed. Yes. Well, actually, but here's the good news. I'll tell you the end game. The end game is that William is doing really, really well. He had a huge crisis of ego in this process from going from jerk to nice guy. But we got him there. We got there through coaching. Okay. In the coaching toolbox are a couple of things that you have to do if you want to be a coach. Is one, you need to ask really powerful questions. And so I already gave you one you can just kind of stick in your pocket. And powerful questions, you will start to notice like what questions you ask have a great impact. So you need to get a list. Now, if you want a list, email me, Nicole at Vibrant Coaching. I'll send you my powerful question list. So powerful questions. The next thing is, now, if you ask a question, you better be ready to do what? Listen. And then you got to have frameworks. You got to know how to give feedback. You need to have a growth mindset about things. Now, when I started my coaching business, I wanted to have my own methodology in terms of like how I took people through the process. So I'm just sharing it with you. And so I really think it's important for people to turn the mirror inward and do self-assessment. People need some kind of starting point in their journey in the coaching process. Then all people on planet Earth need to work on their habits. That's the second part. So whenever you're coaching, before you leave the coaching session, you want to look or think about, as a coach, what kind of habits does this person have? What am I noticing they do repeatedly or talk about doing repeatedly? Then integrity. And that's a whole nother time I could talk about, but people are really delusional about the quality of their character. But the truth of the matter is we're in and out of integrity with every word, thought, and deed. Like I'll meet somebody, I don't particularly like them, I think a bad thought, but then I say I want to be kind. I'm out of integrity. We, of course, have to help people formulate next right steps, and then we have to work on their energy. So let's just talk about energy real quick. So there are 5 energies that every human has. And when you're trying to figure out what is up with this person I'm coaching. So here they are, and I teach it like we're in kindergarten. So we have intellectual energy, emotional energy, spiritual energy, physical energy. Then we have social energy, and then the energy of money. So you can coach around those 5 energies: intellectual, emotional, spiritual, physical, social, or money. So this is what's called the lifeline, the top one. And a lot of times I'll draw it on a piece of paper for a client and I'll say, you are traveling a lifeline. And, at one point you popped on the planet, and at one point you're going to pop off the planet. We want to share with them there are 3 perspectives that they need to understand. You have a past, you have a present, and you have a future. And a vibrant person is aware of this limited amount of time, that we only have this limited amount of time to make a dent in the universe, to shine. And so we must articulate an ideal future, leave the past behind, and work in the present. Now go down to the bottom of the screen and do little A's, little action steps that get us to the point where we're going to make this ideal future come true. Albert Einstein said this, let me put my glasses on. If I had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on the solution, I would spend the first 55 minutes determining the proper question to ask. For once I know the proper question, I could solve the problem in less than 5 minutes, right? There's a lot of forces at work, and we got to ask a question about all those different things. Questions help us discover, uncover. There's all sorts of action that comes out of questions, and there are dimensions to a question. And the dimensions are that there is construction of the question, scope of the question, and then the assumptions inside of that question. Let's just talk about construction real quick, okay? The construction of a question can be more powerful. Question that is not yes or no, it's open-ended, and it is a question that comes from like curiosity. And so I'm going to give you my cheat sheet right here. When I don't know what question to ask because I'm curious, but like my brain's not there yet and the room is silent, me and the coachee, I will say, tell me about blank, which is technically not a question, but an inquiry. So let's say that I was coaching Jeremy and he's saying, I was thinking about, becoming a professional speaker. So I would try to manage myself and I'd say, tell me more about being a professional speaker. See that? And so now he's going to go deeper and deeper on that. And then I can keep trying to formulate the real question I want to ask. Okay. Construction is how it is laid out so that it is powerful. If you want more details, I can get you details. Then there's this idea of scope. So I could say, Jeremy, what will happen in your life if you become a professional speaker? Jeremy, what will happen in your family's life? Now the scope got bigger. What will happen to the world if you become a professional speaker? It got this big. So you want to ask questions in scope, okay? And then a question is powerful, again, most powerful when I don't know what he's going to say. Because some people ask questions like this. So Nancy, don't you think you ought to do X? I mean,
No.
I'm basically telling her to do X, right? So that's not a good question. But you have to be aware of assumptions, right? So, and we all know what happens when you assume things in a conversation. You make an ass out of you and me, right? So, with assumptions, we got to be very, very careful that you don't imply something or coerce the coaching session with an assumption. Okay. Is the art of listening. So I'm just going to read this real quick. We should all know this, that listening, not talking, is the gifted and great and imaginative role. And the true listener is much more beloved and magnetic than the talker. And he is more effective and learns more and does more good because listening is a magnetic and strange thing, a creative force. When we are listened to, it creates us, makes us unfold and expand. Ideas actually begin to grow within us and come to life. You know how a person laughs at your jokes and you become funnier and funnier, and if he does not, every tiny little joke in you weakens up and dies? Well, that is the principle of it, listening. It makes people happy and free when they are listened to. And if you are a listener, it is the secret of having a good time in society because everyone around you becomes lively and interesting, of comforting people and doing them good. But the deal with listening is like, I'm going to tell you, when you're coaching people and they are getting listened to, this is a bizarre experience for them because their husband doesn't listen, their wife doesn't listen, their children don't listen, their boss doesn't listen. But when you as a coach really listen, it's like blows their ever-loving mind. So there's internal listening, which is level 1. This is the bad kind. So like if I'm talking to Lauren and she's telling me stuff and I'm thinking, as soon as she gets done talking, I'm going to tell her the story about my sister. Focused listening is where I'm actually listening to the story about her sister and I'm formulating questions that I'm going to ask her so I can get more focused. And then the third level is expansive. Expansive listening is when you are listening between the lines. You know how they say read between the lines? Well, you can also listen between the lines. And so my favorite thing, there's many things you can listen for, but my favorite thing is values. Values. So if I'm talking with Alexander about his work, and he keeps saying stuff like this. Well, I don't know if I can trust my boss because sometimes she exaggerates and makes another comment like, this happened to me and I don't think they were telling the truth. So what's a core value of Alexander's? Like he's always zeroing in on this idea of honesty, right? So now I'm like reading between the lines and I'm going to ask him lots of questions about honesty in his life and how he exhibits it and why it's important and how he can impact it and like helping him see that this is a core value in his life, which can be revolutionary for people to figure out that they have core values. I mean, like on this call, I bet you all have a list of core values or something, but normal everyday folks running around living life don't sit around going, I have core values. We're weird. If you have a list, you're just kind of weird and informed. So that's fantastic. So here's our challenge. Our challenge is to get inside the Vibrant Coaching Toolbox, right? And ask questions for focus and attention. We want to connect ideas, gain insights, and help people move down that lifeline with some actionable steps, asking powerful questions, good listening, self-assessment, habit, integrity, next right steps, and energy.
And I'll start off by saying, thank you. It was wonderful. And when I think about listening, which I think is absolutely a critical skill I always use the example of there's a reason why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. We're supposed to be listening more than we talk.
Absolutely.
And for coaches, as you said, Nicole, it's almost like I have to zip my lip because you're looking to be helpful. So you're looking like, oh, come on, let me get you out of that pain. I'll tell you what I see. And you can't.